It was one of those late afternoons when the sun painted the streets in gold, and everything felt calm, except for Daniel. The single father was exhausted, his mind heavy with the day's struggles, but all he wanted was to get little Lily home before dinner. Lost in thought, he barely noticed the stop sign he'd just passed. Within moments, flashing lights appeared in his rearview mirror. His heart sank. "Just what I needed," he muttered softly, pulling over. Officer Emily stepped out of her patrol car, her expression professional but weary. She'd been on shift all day, ready to head home herself. As she approached Daniel's truck, neither of them imagined that this ordinary stop would become. As Emily began explaining the violation, her tone was firm, the way years of duty had taught her to be. Daniel nodded quietly, too tired to argue, his rough hands trembling slightly as he handed over his papers. Just then, a small voice from the back seat broke the silence. "Daddy didn't mean to, officer. He's just tired." The words were soft, but they carried a kind of truth that no adult excuse ever could. Emily glanced at the little girl, bright eyes, golden pigtails, a stuffed rabbit hugged tightly to her chest. In that instant, something inside Emily softened. She crouched down, meeting the child's gaze, and for a moment, the uniform didn't matter. What stood between them wasn't a ticket or a mistake, it was a moment of humanity, pure and simple. Sometimes, it takes a child's innocence to remind us what compassion really looks like. Emily noticed the silver wedding ring on Daniel's finger as she wrote the ticket. Something about it caught her attention, the way it looked worn, as if it hadn't been taken off in years. Before she could ask anything, the little girl spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "Daddy still wears his ring even though Mommy's in heaven." The pen stopped moving in Emily's hand. She looked up, meeting Daniel's eyes. There was no anger there, only quiet sorrow. In that moment, everything shifted, the tired driver, the missed stop sign, the routine duty, it all faded into the background. What stood before her wasn't a careless man, but someone who had loved deeply and lost painfully. Emily felt an ache she hadn't expected, a reflection of her own hidden loneliness. Sometimes, the greatest pain isn't in what's said aloud, but in the silence that follows it. For a long moment, Emily stood there, the half-written ticket trembling slightly in her hand. Every part of her training told her to finish it, to do her job and move on. But as she looked at Daniel, sitting there with tired eyes and that little girl smiling in the back seat, something inside her rebelled against the rules. He wasn't trying to escape responsibility, he was just trying to make it through another day. Emily took a slow breath, folded the ticket, and tucked it back into her pocket. "I think we can make this a warning," she said softly. Daniel blinked, surprised, his voice cracking as he whispered, "Thank you, officer." Emily managed a faint smile. "Just drive safe, okay? Lily needs you." For the first time that day, both of them felt the weight in their hearts lighten, proof that compassion is sometimes the truest form of justice. A week passed, but that brief encounter stayed with Emily. She found herself thinking about the man in the old green truck and his little girl with the stuffed rabbit. One evening, while walking through the park off duty, she heard a familiar laugh. There was Lily on the swings, her golden pigtails dancing in the wind, and Daniel sitting nearby, watching her with quiet devotion. When he noticed Emily, he smiled warmly. "Still running stop signs?" she teased. He chuckled, shaking his head. They began to talk, about work, about life, about the people they'd lost and the holes grief leaves behind. For the first time in years, Emily felt seen, understood. Daniel listened without judgment, just genuine kindness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, something unspoken passed between them, a sense that healing had quietly begun. Sometimes, hearts don't need fixing, they just need understanding. Time moved gently, and what began as an unexpected meeting slowly turned into something beautiful. Emily, Daniel, and little Lily started spending more days together, morning walks, quiet dinners, and laughter that began to fill the empty spaces in their hearts. Daniel still wore his ring for a while, holding on to the memory of the love he had lost, and Emily never rushed him. She understood that healing takes time, that love doesn't erase the past, it grows from it. One evening, as the three watched the sunset by the lake, Daniel took off his ring and slipped it into his pocket, whispering, "It's time." Emily didn't speak, she just reached for his hand. Lily's laughter echoed around them, warm and bright, as if life itself had given them permission to begin again. Sometimes, love returns not to replace what's gone, but to remind us that it never truly leaves.